MVP, despite it being impossible right here. So let's walk on up to this great dragon, and actually what you can see here, as I look around with the camera, I'm not moving the analog sticks at all. I'm purely using the motion control for it. And let's jump onto the dragon, because the obvious thing for us as creators of flight games before always was, when we were working on the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games, well, if we ever work with creatures, and if we do more flight, what would be the greatest control method we can think of? And it clearly was motion control. So for years we've been waiting for this. It actually gives you a much broader range of motion than anything which you had on traditional analog sticks, simply because you've got a wider range. On the other hand, it also gives you a very, very detailed feeling. So as you can see here, I'm moving the dragon very subtly, and it really moves without lag, doesn't move. There's absolutely nothing which is different from using analog sticks in terms of responsive feedback. When we had the flight controls implemented, actually one of the things which became apparent was you can do more. So why don't we dodge dragons and other enemies by basically just moving the controller to the side? And as you can see, I don't need to make extreme movements or anything. I just do it very subtly, and it reacts to that. Other things, if I want to scoot forward, I just punch it down. So it's really as if you're holding the reins of this huge beast, and that's really the analogy which we're using in Lair. On the other hand, as you can see with the projectile fire-based combat, when we are actually in need of buttons, we do have the traditional buttons, because you all know it. It is very similar to the PlayStation 2 controller, and I think that's an important feature which people will feel good about. And motion control isn't the only way of control. We integrate it where it's really appropriate. So let's land here. Another thing which you can really only do on the PlayStation 3, I just went seamlessly from air to ground, something which hadn't been possible before. When we worked on these types of games, this was always my final dream, which should be possible at one point. And the PlayStation 3 itself really make it possible for the first time. So back to the controller, actually. The most important thing about a dragon game, in which you're riding a dragon, but where dragons are fighting, is really the visceral combat between those guys. So let me get up close to one of these guys here, one of our dark dragons, and log on to him. And one of the things you will see here is that we're combining the two types of control. So if I want to slam into the guy, if I want to hit him initially, I'm doing it with motion control. Then I'm in a melee combat type scenario. So I'm using traditional button combinations to get the same kind of depth that you're used to from traditional melee type games. And then finally, I'm finishing it off in this nice sequence. Whoops. No. Finishing it off with a combination of the two. So what really Lair, I hope, shows is how the PlayStation 3 is the only next-gen system which offers everything which you would expect in terms of graphics, sound, but also a new step in terms of controls, a true next generation in terms of controls, but also having the best of the last generation and what you're used to.
Julian, thank you very much for sharing that with us.